Hi, I'm Joanneviolin. I'm here today to talk to you about how to play legato on the violin. That means to play nice and smoothly. How does one get a nice smooth bow stroke when playing? Well, I'm going to try and help you with 3 simple exercises that you can use. The first one is called the figure of 8. So we can do this without our bow even. Just hold your right hand out and imagine a figure of 8 lying on its side. Okay, so we're just going to do figure of 8s with our hand, like this. Okay. Very often when one thinks of playing the violin, you might have an image of a very straight bow going up and down in a very linear fashion, but we're not sawing wood here, so try not to be too straight lined about it. I'd like you to think more about making a slightly curved shape with your bow, a figure of 8 shape. It's a very subtle thing when it comes to actually putting it into practice and using it. But there needs to be a little bend at the end of each change of bow. So this is why I recommend just doing figures of 8s. We can do this anywhere. We can do this in the car. We can do it just practicing at home, watching TV. Just keep doing your figure of 8s. And then you can add the bow and do a figure of 8 whilst holding the bow. And if you're doing it whilst holding the bow, as you come back towards you, you might want to just squash the fingers back along the stick of the bow. You can see them, I'm sort of bending and flexing them as I do my figure of 8s. So bend them back and flex them out and bend them back. So there's some natural movement going on there with the fingers as we do our figure of 8. Okay. My friend Keith Gurry and I, we used to talk a lot about figure of 8s over a cup of coffee, and it was really one of the most valuable pieces of information he shared with me. The figure of 8 is all important when it comes to bowing. So the second thing I want to talk to you about is to practice at each end of the bow. So very often this end of the bow gets neglected, and this is the hardest end, I think, to play at. So to improve your bowing and to have a nice smooth bow, we need to be comfortable playing at both ends of the bow. So what we can do, we can use scales. They're a useful thing to use just to help us practice and warm up. And maybe at the start of your practice you might like to just try a few scales. Normally we might just bash through a scale using the middle of the bow. But what you could now do, if you want to make your bowing really, really super smooth and in control, is you could just try using a tiny weeny bit of bow at the bottom. So give yourself maybe 3 inches of bow and challenge yourself and see if you can do your scale there. It's going to feel very different because you're holding the full weight of the bow here and you're trying to control it. So I would recommend just giving it a try every now and then and just see if you can. It might sound a bit heavy and scratchy because you don't normally play anything for too long at this end of the bow, but set yourself a challenge and see what you can do. So can you hear it makes a sort of scratchy sound? And as I'm playing down there, I'm also bending and flexing my fingers a little bit like we did with the figure of 8. Okay, so feel that change in the bow and the weight of the bow, and then you can come up to the point, the tip, and we can just try a scale up there as well. So try and keep your bow nice and straight. You might want to look in the mirror and just check that it's all in a straight line, and just try a little scale up there. It's a lot easier to make a smooth sound, I find, at the tip of the bow because your arm is in a much more natural position, whereas here it's very scrunched up and you're having to control this whole length of bow and the end of the bow as well, which could be wobbling around. So do try both ends of the bow. You can do fun scales. You could do one at the frog here, one up here. Just for fun, you can try mixing it up a bit, but do use both ends of the bow. So that's my second tip. My third tip is to do some springy finger exercises. Again, you can do these anywhere. You can do it without a bow and just practice bending your thumb, and then just practice pushing your fingers out and in, out and in. Yeah, like a little springy frog, out and in. And you can just get used to doing that. It's like a workout for the fingers, and then add the bow so it all makes sense. It's quite hard to keep the little finger on the bow during this exercise. It often pops off, but keep the little finger on your side of the bow, and bring the hand in, scrunch it up and push it out. So scrunch the fingers up and push it back out again. Yeah, so we're doing a sort of scrunch and a push, scrunch, push, scrunch, push. Yeah, and that will help to strengthen up your fingers, and all of these exercises put together will help you to achieve a smoother bow style. As a professional, I'm still working on it every day, and I have to remember these exercises myself. So keep up with your figure of eights, and good luck with your legato bowing.